today we are tapping history from the historical who made the history. So this morning I'm with Mama Jemima Mutabaazi, as many of us choose to call her.
1992. When I arrived, I found plans to start the degree program at Makerere University. And my colleague, Madam Speciosa Mbabali, had already been assigned to start this program. And she was looking for team members to work with her. And so when I returned, I was assigned to work with her from the Nurse Tutors College to start a degree program at Makerere University. She was head of department. I was working with her. And the other project of Women for Women's project in the US had sent 5 other people to the US to do their masters.
Welcome back, our viewers. We have heard what Ms. Mutabaazi has told us from her journey as a nursing student, how she lands into nursing tutorship, how she lands into universities. And I have some questions for her from just what she has just spoken. Probably someone would want to know what you had a very big vision for the nursing fraternity by introducing the upgraded masters in degree in nursing and masters in nursing. Someone would want to ask, up to today we are still having bachelor's nurses not employed by government. Is it because the training institutions have not convinced the universities, the government, to see the importance of improving the quality of nursing care? Where is the problem? How come that more than 25 years down the road, because I think it was introduced in 1993. So all those years down the road, today nursing students at bachelor's level still find hard time to get into public service.
Thank you very much for that question. It is a fundamental question, and everybody is sort of asking, how come graduate nurses are not being easily hired? Now, hiring of graduate nurses does not necessarily mean civil service. They can actually work in NGOs. They can also work in clinics. Now,
someone wants to imagine that government has put up this policy, has accepted this training. It's actually sponsoring. Personally, I was trained on government sponsorship. I was taken on merit, and the course I was given was nursing. So someone would want to imagine very many people the government has invested in their training, but the government itself is not taking them up. They may be getting jobs in other entities, NGOs, other private institutions, hospitals. But what about the government that introduced the program, is funding the program, and is making sure that these people study and come?
Yes, I was coming to that actually. See, what happens is that the Minister of Health has to work with public service and treasury to make sure that graduates are actually hired and employed. Now, the missing match came in between Minister of Health and Public Service, because after the ministry wanting this cadre of nurses, degree nurses, the structures in the country were not changed. Yes, the hospitals, the districts, they remained with the old structure and the old requirements of double-trained diploma and all that. Now, when the degree holders came in, they found the old structure and they could not be hired. And so, as nurses and Nursing Council and Nursing Association, we've been lobbying the Minister of Health to make sure they change this structure, to make sure they include and absorb the degree nurses and also the master's qualified nurses. But now it took us to develop a scheme of service for nursing, the nursing scheme of service. It took very long to be approved. Though we started working on it, I think, before 2016, 2017, 18. Not much was happening because it was not being approved, it was not being supported by the ministry leadership. But it's taking long for many institutions to take it up. Now, within the new nursing scheme of service, we have included the degree nurses, the master's nurses, the PhD nurses, so that they can be absorbed at clinical, in administration, at all levels. Many of the institutions that are forthcoming have already included these nurses. In fact, the ministry and the regional hospitals, when they advertise the jobs, they will say they need a degree, they need a master's. Now, if you don't have it and you are a diploma like it used to be, you may not access some of these jobs. So it is changing.
But we also have a disease in many of our institutions where you find that there are many unfilled positions, and many of these positions are the positions of, some of these positions that would actually be held by degree nurses and those that have higher training. What can the nurses do about it?
Oh, thank you very much. I think it takes lobbying and working with the structures that be, or the powers that be, to make sure that all these positions that are not filled, that require higher education, people who have higher training, the degree, the masters, and so on, should be filled. And you also realize that it's not only nurses' positions that are not filled. I imagine even the medical positions are not filled because they are also complaining. I've heard now that they are asking for the government to hire them at Health Center 3, which used to be not the case. They would stay in the general hospitals, referral hospitals, and so on. But now they are in Health Center 3, Health Center 4, general hospital, and all through. So we need to lobby to make sure positions are opened for nurses also at different levels.
Thank you so much, Sister. You talked about going to Zambia under sponsorship training. Today we understand that there are very limited opportunities for nurses to train. What brought about this? What was the experience in your years? Was it still, was the atmosphere the same? Were they still limited as it is today? Because today, opportunities of training, of course, there are government sponsorships for direct entrance, but advancing, like the opportunity you go out to Zambia, those opportunities are limited. What brought about this?
I would think competition and priority. The ministry has priorities. If they want certain cadre of nurses, they will make a way for them to go and get trained.
Actually, I've seen recently they are advertising for critical care nurses because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the demand for critical care nurses has increased.
Exactly.
So should we assume we have to wait until there is demand for everything, that when we're in a crisis of maybe a condition, cardiac diseases, that's when we shall need cardiac specialized nurses?
Not necessarily. That wouldn't be my view. I think we need those prepared today, other than waiting until people start dying and then you need critical care nurses. But the truth is that many of these specialists have been long overdue in this country, because you need cardiac nurses, you need orthopedic nurses, you need ophthalmology nurses. Now you need ICU and infectious control nurses. You need them now. They may work in Uganda, but they may work in the region, and they may work outside of this country, because we are not only training for local consumption. I think we are training for the yes, for the entire world, and they are good material because the university in which they are being trained are renowned good universities. The programs are good, and people teaching them are very well qualified, masters, PhD. So we have to train for the world, including Uganda.
Sister, you've walked the journey of training nurses, and you've also realized that you've been involved in curriculum development, you've been involved in the training of tutors. One of the challenges that is affecting the nursing training in Uganda is that we don't have enough tutors to train nurses. What would be your opinion? How can we jump out of this?
Okay, thank you very much. That is a pertinent question. We have the Tutors College are the only one training tutors in a government setting, but we need to encourage private operators to also take on teaching tutors.
I think Aga Khan has introduced a program. I've also heard about Uganda Christian University. I think has also begun a master's program.
Yes, masters and even a degree for tutors, because at the Tutors College there is a degree. Yes. So we encourage other players other than the government to actually open up schools for training tutors. Masters good for university programs, but then these other schools also lack tutors. There is an acute shortage of tutors in the country, and so we have to work to make sure to get nurse and midwifery tutors to teach our nurses.
So somewhere in your discussion, you talked about double training. That was that trend those days. Why did people have to double train, and why do you think it is still necessary?
You have touched something very, very fundamental. Yes, I had to. It was very necessary, and I think it is still relevant today. In the past, you did registered nursing. You are just a general nurse, and you do not do anything maternity. So it would only be midwives to do maternity. But then the midwives were few. So you would find that there is demand for more maternity workers. So sometimes they would hire registered nurses in maternity areas and they would not perform. So the issue was, let's have nurses double trained to work as nurses, to work as midwives. What used to happen is that you'd get a double increment. There is a structure of salary. And if you were in a U6, you come back, they give you 2 or so notes as increment. That's what used to happen. Because in promotion, they would have to have open for promotion. And if the open posts are not there, they wouldn't promote. But they would give you increment on the new courses that you have taken. But now you're asking whether it was necessary. Yes, it was necessary, because even today, you need to be a general nurse, you need to be a midwife to work in the community as a public health nurse, to go for pediatric as a specialty. You need this background, because then it gives you the experience and the knowledge and skills that you require to participate in the community. Now, this one would be taken over by the comprehensive nursing program, because the comprehensive nursing program was helping us to reduce the training. Yes, yes. The comprehensive program, the comprehensive program, was meant to reduce on the extra trainings that people were taking, double trained and so on. And in fact, even psychiatry. You'd go for general nursing, midwifery, psychiatry, public health. Those are 4. And you have wasted a lot of time training. So the comprehensive was started to cover these areas, the 4 of them, so that one would have out when you can perform in any of those areas. It was a perfect, even still today it is perfect. The problem came in when the hiring of came. They did not remember that these were comprehensives and not specialists. Instead of taking them to where they were trained to go, Health Center 2, Health Center 3, Health Center 4, that's where they were trained to work, in the community, and use all these multi-skills for the community issues. Now they took them to higher, yes.
Where they failed to perform.
Yes, because
some reports from I'm talking about the human resource in Uganda. They show that actually the comprehensive nurses failed to perform in the areas where they were taken. And some people related that to the fact that they were only studying 2.5 years, yet 3 years?
4. Diploma, 4 years.
Then
maybe certificate is 2.5 years or something, yeah.
This is the same period of time that their colleagues were studying enrolled nursing and enrolled midwifery that were studying.
But you can appreciate that if I'm doing in 2.5 years, I'm going to go into depth. I'm going to learn a lot more skills and I will concentrate on one area. But now if you are comprehensive, you have to do general nursing, midwifery, public health, psychiatry in the same period of time. You cannot achieve the same depth. And they were not meant to go in these high-tech units where they would be expected to do in-depth work and be able to achieve results. They were supposed to go in the outpatients, in the clinics, in the health centers, 2, 3, and 4, and multitask with the community clients, and then refer to the higher levels.
The roots of the nursing profession from the works of Florence Nightingale and Mary Seacole, who lived in the early years of the 19th century. Since then, the profession has evolved into one that forms the backbone of many healthcare systems across the globe. Despite the tremendous contributions nurses have had to the healthcare systems, they still practice with a number of challenges. To decipher some of these challenges and understanding the practice and evolution of the nursing fraternity, one needs to reflect on the history of the nursing profession. with limited documentation. There are very little records to tell the story of the nursing profession in Uganda. Our viewers will come back from that short break. We were talking about certificate nursing. How do you see it? Is it still so relevant now that you want to grow the profession? The profession is growing forward. Is certificate nursing still relevant in the current times?
I would say yes, it is relevant because we need nurses. Nurses are very few in the country, but the problem with certificate curriculum, it is limited. There are certain skills they require that may not be imparted to them. And the expectation in the society is that they should do so many things, they should do everything. And so they find themselves limited and they get angry. So the best thing would be to upgrade their skills to diploma so that they now have more skills to work with according to the demands of healthcare. And within 5 years, most of them would have upgraded. And we definitely stop the certificate entry so that the certificate program is phased out. Not suddenly,
but in a phased manner.
Yes. And when they all become diploma, just like the teachers have done.
Actually, teachers right now, I recently read news and
yes.
The government wants degree teachers.
Yes.
So you can imagine a teacher is going to be at a degree level.
Yes.
Yet a nurse that interacts with someone's life is going to be at a certificate level.
Yeah, so that is not good. We need those certificate programs upgraded to diploma in a phased manner to increase the skills they have to work with because of the demand of society. Secondly, it is a very long journey for them to achieve their goals. Remember, from certificate you have to now go for diploma. After that, you are now going into specialized area, then probably degree, eventually master's, PhD. When will they arrive there? There are many people who have done it, but it's frustrating. And many have lost their journey. They haven't achieved their goal. So I think phasing out certificate program would be the best thing to do for our nurses and then for the growth of the profession. And eventually, we shall get to a point where we only have degree entry program, degree at the first level of education for nurses. Because we handle human beings. We need a lot more intelligence, a lot more critical thinking, a lot more innovations to help our people.
Thank you so much, sister. For our viewers, don't forget that we are on a journey of tracing the history of nursing. We are tracing history and we are going to document it in one of our upcoming books that is going to tell a story of the nursing professionals, the nursing health workforce in Uganda. Maybe, sister, I want to shift gears and drive you to another topic in the nursing fraternity. What are some of the achievements? What are some of the strongest moments that the profession has had over times in Uganda?
Oh, there are very many strong things, a lot of achievements that the profession has attained. One which is very visible is we have our nursing council. The nursing council that regulates our profession, nursing and midwifery. And that is a big achievement because then we are saying we are a profession because we regulate ourselves. The second achievement is education. We have managed to start the degree program, masters, and many of our colleagues have already attained PhD. That is a huge, huge, huge achievement for the profession. We also now are looking at specialization, that nurses can go out there and specialize in different fields in medicine, in health. And I think that is also an achievement. The last one I might want to say is that when they advertise now, they ask you to have a degree or master's. And many of the leadership positions in the country, from principal nursing officers to commissioner nursing, are graduates. They have attained their degree, they have attained their masters, and now we are looking at the others whom they work with. How can we uplift them? Those are very important achievements, I think.
Thank you so much. Actually, sister, you've talked about another thing that is also very important, leadership in nursing. Some people think that rising through the leadership journey of nursing, it's a very frustrating thing. You need a lot of experience some people can never get. Actually, some think there are some positions that have been trenched or fenced for some specific kinds of people. What would you have to say about that? And maybe also I would want to ask you, what have been some of the key figures in the leadership of nursing, at least from the time when you joined it?
Leadership required a lot of skills. Indeed, it requires experience. You're not going to come from school and start being a manager.
Exactly.
For people who have already been working. Your
Exactly.
knowledge is still limited. You really need to have experienced certain situations. So leadership with experience, I think they are intertwined. But again, also leadership requires education in management and leadership, in policy issues. Because when you are a leader, there are many expectations from you.
Exactly.
So you need to have educated yourself or to have gone through a program that prepare you for that leadership role. And indeed, that's what we are achieving. Even the Register of Council now is taking her masters in nursing. All of them, the chairperson is on a PhD program. The commissioner is a master. They are all in education and experience that we can't run away from. Even in the past, they were talking of double trained. That was all experience. And they had added on nursing administration. Nursing profession was the first to have a program at UMI for administration. And it was very necessary because nurses would go out in general hospitals there in the districts and they were expected to lead.
To managers.
Yes. And so when they had this administration, which many nurses now have had, they were performing. Exactly. Look at the assistant district health officers. They are all graduates and they all are expected to have management or leadership program. So leadership requires education, requires experience, and I think it will continue for quite some time in that way because it is necessary.
Okay. Then the other question was, who have been some of those influential people that you can recall in the nursing profession, those who have taken leadership positions? We hear some, at one point in time, we had chief nursing officer, then we have commissioner of the nurse, commissioner, the Department of Nursing, that is at the Ministry of Health. Who are some of those people that you think were very influential to the journey of nursing?
Well, those are very many, very dedicated ladies that run the nursing profession. I may not remember all their names, but I can point out a few, like Walusimbi. I think she was Lucy.
Miriam?
No, she was, I think,
Lucy.
She's quite ancient because even Mia was her daughter.
Actually, she was a chief nursing officer.
Very senior. And when she talked, many of her colleagues, the directors of health service, would listen. And she would stand up and say, for this one nursing, we will not do it or we'll do it.
Is it the Lucy that took over immediately after the colonial government had left?
I think there were two others before her, but I can't remember the names because I hadn't even come into nursing. And I haven't done my good research. But Walusimbi, then there was Elangot, and then there was Biahuka. That one I remember very well because when I came into nursing, she was already here and she actually was our leader and my mentor, Elizabeth Biahuka. Then you talk of Katesigwa. I think it is Katesigwa. Then you talk of Sewanyana, who took off from the whites, who was from South Africa. I think she's the one who took off from the whites. That is in Mulago. And very many others. Very many others. I may not remember. We will probably need to look up the archive to identify some of these influential leaders in nursing. And there are very many. But I can remember I think Walusimbi at the ministry when it was still in Entebbe. I remember Elangot still at Entebbe. I remember Elizabeth Biahuka still at Entebbe. And now I remember Chota, Margaret. And I remember Miss Otule as a registrar. And there are very many leaders who are very strong nurses who could direct the profession. Of course, they didn't have the degree program, they had diploma, but they had enough experience. And many of them had even trained abroad because the training of nurses did not start here. At first, they would be sent to UK to become state registered nurses. The Biahukas were state registered nurses, the Mrs. Mbabali, and many others in the past had gone through UK education. And when they came here, even without the degree, they were able to champion the cause of nursing.
Okay.
And we may have to look up some of these people.
There is one interesting question we are always asked. Who is the person, or who are the people that may have inspired you to join the nursing profession?
I will not say a person, because when I was growing up, nurses were not deployed in dispensaries. The health units we had were dispensaries manned by medical assistants and dressers. Those are the people we knew, I knew. None of them inspired me. It was an internal desire to do better for others, an internal desire to help the sick, an internal desire to make sure that there was well-being, not only in my family but also in the society. And eventually I realized the best way I could achieve this was through caring for the sick. And that took me to nursing. So after my O-level, the first choice I had and the only option was to go for nursing, and that's where I went. So I wouldn't say I was inspired by so and so, but along the way I realized there were professionals that you would look up to as models, like now Miss Elizabeth Byahuka, Specials Mbabali, and many others that I could look to and say, I think she's done well, I could do that as well. Okay. Yeah, and if I needed to give you this kind of information, I would have to look up some of my managers at that time. But I can remember those two and a few others who were very good professional nurses.
Okay. Now, talking to you as one person who has sat in the boardrooms to represent nurses on the decision-making tables, there is a general feeling that nurses are not well represented in the boardrooms because very few are actually permitted on those decision-making tables. Even those who go there at times are silenced, so they are not in position to table clearly what the nursing professional would wish to be tabled there. Now that we are talking to you, you'd probably want to tell us what exactly happens when a decision is being taken about nurses in those dining or in those boardrooms.
Thank you for that question. The opportunity to sit at decision-making tables are very limited for nurses. Usually there is one position, one person, and the voice is so slow, so low, it may not be heard. The second point with it is that we lack autonomy, that would make a decision on our issues and then follow through with them. You may want certain things to happen, but somebody else is going to make a final decision. And that way, you may not get the nursing agenda on that table when it comes to decision making. The third one is that education for nurses has been low, as you have heard. Yes, we had experience, but they look at what have you achieved. I'm a certificate nurse, I'm a diploma nurse, period. Now the others will talk because they have higher qualification.
They have masters,
yes,
they have PhDs,
yes, and
they have gone abroad.
Exactly. And now that we have our nurses through degree program, through master's, PhD, I think the decision-making table will see many of us to champion the causes of nursing, the issues of nursing, the issues of development, to see that nursing attains higher levels so that we can improve the performance of the profession.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't know whether you ever worked in a private hospital, but there are very many issues concerning private hospitals. Nurses, the payment. You understand that we are in a country without a minimum wage, and nurses in private hospitals are being paid very little, and at times they have no say. How would you? What is your opinion about this? Do you think there is a way nurses can go about it?
I think you have said it right, that conditions of service for nurses in private is not at par with those in civil service.
Actually, they are not regulated.
They are not regulated. They hire them in areas that are non-nurses, nursing, and you find them doing certain things that they wouldn't normally do in dispensing drugs, and so we miss them at the bedside. It is difficult to say that you will regulate private practice because they have their own policies, but I think we can lobby through the Ministry of Health policies, and then we can collaborate with the proprietors of private institutions in health care, and we can also use the labor laws. Labor laws should govern everybody really working, so that they can lobby for them and see that the conditions of service are commensurate to what others are doing, and that they are paid accordingly. I have heard and I have been unhappy about some places where nurses are expected to carry dead bodies to the mortuary. And surely that is not a nursing work. It is a porter's work. But that is misuse of professional practitioners. Why would they go out to do things that probably they were not trained to do? And then I've also heard that they are expected to do certain tasks for which they are not trained. Now, if they make a mistake, then they are going to be punished and so on. So I think private practice nurses need regulation, and I think we need to lobby, and the ministry has a role to play to make sure that their working conditions are at par as civil service, and also we can engage the labor laws, because we have a union, a nurses and midwives union. They would go in there and really talk to the managers to see that what they are doing is what is expected. That's what I can do, because I haven't worked in those in hospitals. But of course, when I was at Uganda Christian University and Aga Khan University, those were private institutions. Yes, they were private institutions.
But you are not on the ward. You are not a bedside nurse.
I wasn't hired to work on the wards, but I could go to the wards
as a clinical instructor.
Yes.
So actually, this your previous discussion takes me to something very interesting. We have the Ugandan Nurses and Midwives Union, and we have also come up with very many professional associations. Do you think the union and the associations are actually doing their work in advocacy and lobbying for the profession? What, if they are not doing it, what can they do to see that the profession is moving forward?
Thank you very much for that question. Indeed, the associations and the unions are doing what they are supposed to do. But they have started from very far. First, by mobilizing members to know that it is necessary to belong to an association or to belong to a union. Secondly, to show up at the employer's desk to say, we are from the union, we are from the association, this is what we have seen and this is what we need. And thirdly, to be able to actually push forward the nursing agenda against very many obstacles. Remember, the nurses are majority in this country, 80%, but at the leadership and decision-making level, maybe we have one or two or a handful of them. So by the time you break through to make the nursing agenda hard and implemented, you have gone through a lot of hardships. But it's coming, and they are doing a good job, because recently I understand there has been a breakthrough on the nurses' lunch. They have had to increase it, they have had to accept it as part of the conditions of service for nurses. And I also know that there was a salary enhancement. It may not have been as what people had expected, but it was there. But
at least you appreciate the little. Yes. In Uganda, we have a saying, nyamantono, okayaneri munkwawa. Meaning that as you're yearning to get more, first consolidate the little you've so far gotten.
Exactly. So the salary enhancement was done. The nurses' lunch has been done. The PPE story has also been on the table quite a lot to make sure that nurses are protected, because we had started losing some. So many things are being done, they are slow. There are also certain positions that were lobbied for us to have them, so that we could have commissioner, for example. We took a long time without a commissioner, and there was lobbying to make sure we get one. And the Health Service Commission, we used to have, when it started, we had 2 nurses. Even the deputy chair was a nurse, and there was one other member. Now we have one person. At least there's a leg in there, and we are still lobbying to see that more can be put on those levels.
Okay. Actually, you talked about the position, the lobbying of the position of the commissioner. What was it? How was the leadership before we got a commissioner? And how was the process? How tedious was it to get that department of nursing in the Ministry of Health?
It has not been easy to establish the Department of Nursing and Ministry. In the past, as I told you, we had the nurses who were diploma holders and the administrators. They had done administration. And they were at that level. But you remember public service requires more education for certain positions. You can't be commissioner with that certificate. So it took a lot of time to get ourselves there. But right now, Commissioner of Nursing is in place. Assistant Commissioner of Nursing, I think we have 2 or 3. And then we have assistant district health officers in some districts, many of them, because they are in charge of maternal health. And so we're actually getting there. Now, when it came to like promotion, positions, you have to have attained a certain level not to become assistant commissioner of commissioner. You have to be a senior principal nursing officer, having worked for a certain number of years for you to be considered for promotion. And some of our colleagues were principal nursing officers with a diploma.
You can
and
imagine.
So they could not.
They would not fit.
Yes.
They have the experience,
yes.
but they don't have the academic documents
yes.
to sit in the position.
Yes. And now many of them have attained their degree and masters. They are actually eligible for assistant commissioner, commissioner, assistant district health officers. They would ask you if you want a certain office, what have you achieved?
Do you have the papers?
Do you have the papers? You have experience, yes, but do you have the papers? Can you manage? And so if you didn't have the papers, you wouldn't. But now that we have the papers, I think we are actually getting there.
Actually, as we are getting done with this session, I want us to sum it up with public image. How the community views the nurse, how the community views the midwife. You would want to tell us, how do you think? Because for years, the nursing image, at times, some people think it is rising. Some people think it is actually diminishing. What do you think in your opinion? And what can we do as the young generation to make sure that actually the image of nursing is uplifted and maintained and sustained at a higher level?
Thank you for that fundamental question about the image of nursing, which everybody wants to hear about.
Yes.
One tool that we must use is communication. Sensitize the public, tell them who are nurses, what are we, and what do we do, and what is the expectation. Because the public doesn't know whether you are a doctor, a clinical officer, a nurse, a midwife, or whatever. They don't know. All they know is the health worker. So, health worker. And you, a health worker, you are supposed to take off blood, you are supposed to give transfusion, you are supposed to
give medicine,
you are supposed to do everything. Including taking the dead body to the mortuary. So that is the big problem. Communities don't know what nurses stand for. They don't know what we study. They don't know what we are supposed to do. And this is made worse by the fact that there is extremely shortage of staff at different places. Because you find the only nurse, the nursing officer, she's the one who's standing in for everybody. She will clerk, she will discharge, she will dispense medicine. She will do everything. Now, if any of those things are not done right, then the blame is on her because she's the one available. I think communication and to improving the structure of health workers at different levels so that everybody takes their role. Let there be a doctor to do his part, or clinical officer. Let there be a laboratory technician take off blood and do his thing. And let the nurses do nursing care or midwifery care. That way the image will improve. The community will know. The patient died because there was no blood and because the doctor didn't come to do anything. Or there was no laboratory service to test and make sure blood is available. Or certain tests were not done because lab technicians were not available. But not to blame everything on nursing, and eventually the image is put down. But now with this education we have all the updated diploma nurses to degree. The degree nurses have taken up the master's, PhD, and so on. The image to me has improved. Because they will stand in public and talk, they will stand and talk on point, and they have issues that they can discuss. I think the image is improving, but needs to be sustained and improved further. Thank you
so much, Mama Jemima Mutabaazi, like many of us prefer to call you. For you, the young nurses, the young midwives you've had, we still have a very big task to raise the image and the profile of the nursing profession. That task is on our shoulders and we have to carry it like they did it for their years. It's now our time. We are going to get a short break and we are coming back to talk retirement. She is a lady that is enjoying her retirement. We are coming back specifically to talk retirement. I welcome you back to our discussion and interaction with Mama Jemima Mutabaazi. We have visited Miss Jemima in her retirement home in Hoima, where she stays. It's a very nice home. I would actually pray that I retire in such an environment. A very healing, psychologically healing home. A lot of flowers, a lot of green. Anyone would want to actually be here. So, Mama Jemima, I would want to ask you, you've worked for years, you've taught, you've done everything. How do you want to be remembered in the nursing profession?
Oh, that's a very difficult question.
No,
It's to do with
you can tell us.
Yes. How will people remember me? Hardworking, very interested in my profession, interested in the younger generation, making sure patients are well cared for, ensuring that whatever is done should be done to reflect the image of Christ. Because my guiding principle has been, what would have Jesus done in this situation? What would he have advised in this case? What would it have been for him to be the person in here to do management, to select students for program, to mark their scripts and counsel them? That has been my guiding principle, and I think it is fundamental. The second thing is that I'm one person who cooperates with very many people. I do not show my frustration for whatever might have happened, but I try my level best to cooperate. I don't take my own personal issues and problems out into the office, out on other people, because it is none of their business. So at least that would be a good legacy to leave behind. Lastly, mentorship.
Actually, yes, mentorship.
Yes, I've mentored students, staff, colleagues to make sure that they do a better job than that I have been doing. I have helped to select the best of the brains to take over from me, or to go and lead programs, or to work in certain situations, because I knew and I believed in their skills, their attitude, and what they are able to do, to deliver. So mentorship is something I would like people to remember me for.
Talking about mentorship.
People who think I'm their mentor.
Talking about mentorship, actually very many people think you've inspired them into the profession, you've inspired them to be better nurses, better midwives. How can us who are still in practice, how can we put ourselves into the best shoes to mentor those that are below us?
I think the first thing people should look at is that no one is in the place forever. That is a guiding principle. You are here today, tomorrow you are not here. Remember, I have worked in many places, besides Mlago as a hospital, in Makerere as a university, Aga Khan and Ugandan Christian University. And right now I'm here. Yes, but I have left no regrets behind. Wherever I have worked, I have
actually people are celebrating
yes,
you, celebrating your life.
Yes, I've left able leadership, left members who can push the nursing vision agenda forward, even better than I could, because I didn't have a PhD, but now the people left behind have PhD. And here they can reason, they can research, they can do much better work than I did. So I think that is a strength that your generation should take on, that leave the place better than when you found it.
Pull each other.
Yes.
Let us grow together.
Exactly.
Yes. Everyone grow, all nurses growing.
Yes.
Not someone having a PhD and they think they are the only ones that should have it.
Yeah.
Or someone being in a position and they think they should distract other people from getting there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because PhD, people say pull them down. and that should not
It should be
the
pulling
case.
people
Yes.
to greater heights. So actually that is a very good thing. We are still, some of the challenges that we are still battling with as a profession, probably they would be sorted if we had very good mentorship, supporting each other to see how we can grow, support. Actually, we've had situations where managers in hospitals are denying junior members from going back, opportunity to go back and advance, and these are fellow nurses, but they do it at some point intentionally. Of course, there are other reasons why someone is stopped from going, but I think we should be supporting each other. Finally, I will get to you. How do you think, now that you're retired, how do you feel about your retirement? You retired very well. On many occasions we hear people, when they are clocking to their time of retirement, people get depressed, people get sick, people get admitted to Mutabika, people get alcoholic, people lose themselves. There are all sorts of things you can think about. Nurses are there. Behind you is a very beautiful house. There are nurses there who have even worked for more years than actually you did, but they don't have a house. They are thinking, when they are clocking that time, they are thinking, where am I going to next? They have been used to sleeping in staff quarters. Time comes now, they have to be kicked out. Actually, to make things worse, some are actually forced out of those houses. How would you advise the nurses that are still in service?
Retirement, I think, is a big topic. It will be a chapter in the book on its own. It is not easy, but one has to be prepared. You must have a vision that now I started being a nurse from 1973. And in 2019, that journey, I retired. How did I plan my journey to retirement? For me, retirement is just another phase of working. I have not retired to sleep. I have retired to continue working. But what am I working on? Things of my own interest. Things of my own interest. I came from the community. I've come back to the community. During the work time, did I prepare for this retirement? I don't think so. Because our time was HIV/AIDS time. And we had very many dependents. I lost my sister, leaving 6 children. And they all landed on me, besides the other relatives. My husband had the same. Maybe he had 10 others people to come into our home. And so you couldn't prepare for retirement, like put down money so that you will start this and that project. Whatever we had was used up to maintain the family, to educate our own children, plus those other dependents. Retirement in that line did not happen. But I would like to advise people who are still in service to put down something to which they will fall back. Like you save little money and start something. And you really don't want, I wouldn't think you would want to start a drug shop. Because a drug shop will be tempting you to get maybe medicine from the hospital, wherever, and then stock your stock. It will not be good. You start something outside of what you are doing. And make sure it is running as you continue working. So you keep putting in little money. You may plant trees. You may start a supermarket, some small supermarket. Get somebody to do some work there. And if you can, maybe you can team up with the people with the nursing home. Because the other people will manage it, but you'll be part of the group. Or midwifery service. You can be working out elsewhere, but other people are managing. It is going to be very, very important for these nurses in service today to prepare for retirement. For us, we had lower expectations. I didn't expect to fly a plane. But today's generation, you are expecting to fly a plane. If I have a tiny little car, that is enough for me, because my expectation is less than what the new generation is having. But when you are thinking that while you are working, you are going to amass a lot of money, and then you are having a big project, that may not be so unless you become corrupt. But they should have a mind to know that one day they are going to retire. Can I put down a little money and start buying a plot? In that plot, can I put in a little kiosk? Can I put there a small room? So that with the money, if you get money, you increase on that one. You cannot start by buying miles of land, like many other people in different fields are doing. But you can start with half a plot, and you can add on to make it a full plot, and you can make it 2 plots. So that way, you keep increasing. And in fact, they should even buy land, because land appreciates every time. Every time you buy something in terms of land, tomorrow it will be tripled. And that way you can raise some money. That's what I would say, because I really am not a business person.
I understand. But you've talked from your experience as a nurse, what you think a fellow nurse can do. You're not a business expert, but I think that word of preparing for retirement is very important. Actually, Very many nurses miss it out, and you find them so desperate during the time of retirement. In this episode, we've caught up with Mama Jemima Mutabaazi. She has walked through the wards of various hospitals, giving a tender hand to those that she has treated. She has influenced policy and practice of the nursing profession in Uganda. Today we sat her down in her home residence in Hoima, where she shared with us about her journey in the nursing profession. I want to thank Mama Jemima for fixing time to share with us all that she has shared with us. I guess we have learned, and this is part of the many people that we are going to meet in the journey of tracing and documenting the history of nursing in Uganda. I would also want to appreciate Miss Beatrice Amuge, the Commissioner of Nursing, for the guidance and lead to Miss Jemima Mutabaazi. I would also want to appreciate Miss Catherine Odeke, the chairperson of the Nursing Now campaign in Uganda. I would want to appreciate Elizabeth Pearson and Miss Irene Atuhaire, the Deputy Director of SEED Global Health, for the support they have given us in this journey to Hoima. Thank you so much. Let us catch up next time when we find and meet the next historic journey of nursing in Uganda.